Yo, we here, we live. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Forge. I don't know if anybody will come in and ask any questions. This is kind of a weird time of the day to be going live. It's not my normal time either, schedule-wise, but I've got some scheduling conflicts, and I will going forward. There will be some weeks here coming up where I'm going to have to go live like Saturday night instead of Sunday morning for those questions. And these next 2 weeks, I have classes at Tuesday evenings. It's normally Wednesday, but for scheduling reasons, it's Tuesday evenings. So that's why we're going to be filming this early. So if you're checking this out in the future, I might interact with chat. You should be able to see chat. But let's go over the fantasy football waiver wire rankings for you this week. Looking at the quarterbacks, I 100% agree with what the fantasy pros guys have come to a consensus on. I think Jacoby Brissett has proven himself to be very, very worthy. He's also the highest ranked this upcoming week in my quarterback rankings. I have Trevor Lawrence one spot ahead of Bryce Young, and I think that they're both playable this week, so I'm obviously in agreement with them. Kirk Cousins, yes, makes enough sense. Don't have him quite as high in the rankings either. And then, Mason Rudolph, if you're in a 2-quarterback league and need some real emergency help, Aaron Rodgers is trying to push to play, so there's no guarantee there anyways, so makes sense for him to be last up on the list. And I actually do have him ranked ahead of Kirk Cousins. I don't know about that. I haven't redone these rankings yet. I just this is my initial go through, and then before I record my video for the quarterbacks and the tight ends video, I'll be going through them again. That feels like I was a little too optimistic about Mason Rudolph there. That is going to bring us on to the running back rankings. Let's see here, or I shouldn't. All right, that seems a little loud. How's this? That's roughly should be about right for the volume. I don't have anybody in chat to verify that, so I do apologize for the volume change. My cat was right back by the sound, and she knocked it out, and I looked down. So I don't know when it got cut out, but I had it fixed. So going on to the running back waiver wire options for this week, we are now we got the microphone from the laptop going. Let's see, we got Bajal Tootin up top. I don't agree with that. Emmanuel Wilson could be the starting running back for the Green Bay Packers this week. That seems to be the clear-cut number one. Travis Etienne wasn't injured. What's up, Nino? Audio sounds good. Appreciate you. Are you dropping any of Algier, Jaden Higgins, Sean Tucker, or Tez to pick up Burden or Gainwell? Gainwell, no, not really. So actually, a report just came out a little bit ago in regards to Jaylen Warren. So Jaylen Warren, Mike Tomlin says that Jaylen Warren was cleared to play and willing to play against the Bengals after suffering an ankle injury in game, but says that Kenneth Gainwell was playing so well that the team opted to ride the hot hand and not risk Jaylen Warren getting further injury, So it just didn't make sense for them. That makes sense to me 100% as something that would make sense to do, Why risk it if the guy that's playing is playing well? So, no, I wouldn't really bother, about Gainwell anymore over any of those guys. I mean, you could over like Sean Tucker, probably over Tez, but I personally, I just put them all in a bucket where they're probably useless going forward. I guess Sean Tucker I would put value a little bit higher than Gainwell just because we don't know for sure that Bucky Irving's coming back. It seems like he's probably coming back this week. No guarantee on that one, though. Burden I do like. to give a shot at. So I would put Burden right up there with Algier Higgins. Algier Higgins, Burden in one pot, and then I would say Gainwell, Sean Tucker. Probably Gainwell, Tez value wise there. Depends a little bit what your running back and receiver room look like there, Nino. So as I was saying, we'll keep an eye on chat there in case you have any follow-ups or anything. But yeah, I think that should answer that question pretty well. Emmanuel Wilson could be a starting running back for the Green Bay Packers. You don't get that with Bashal Tutin, Kenneth Gainwell. Zonovan Knight, you actually might get that with. Oh, and my cat is about to vomit, but it's on hardwood, so I guess I'll have to clean that up after this. It shouldn't be a long session anyways. So Bam Knight I would probably value over Ken Walker and Bashal Tutin, just in terms of if you need him this week, you need a starter, I would have him ranked higher. But in terms of looking long-term upside, Bashal Tutin would be the guy here. For long-term upside, just in general, Bashal Tutin, I guess, would be the guy to have. Same with Tyler Algier right behind that. Chris Rodriguez, if you need a starter. Where do I have him ranked this week on the running backs? My cat was outside, so she likes to eat the plants we have, and then she doesn't digest them. She just lets them go up front. She doesn't seem to learn her lesson or mind enough. I don't know what's wrong with her. All right, so for the running backs, once again, these rankings are far from final, still under construction. I don't know what you might be. Okay, so you can see the screen for the most part. It's a little awkward, but I bet you Washington's on bye this week, aren't they? Yeah. So he's the starter also. So I would really put Chris Rodriguez also ahead of like Tutin, Gainwell, Tyler Algier if you need a guy who can play for you. So I'm in agreement with Derek Brown here. I'm in agreement with Andrew Erickson here. I would probably go Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Rodriguez, Zonovan Knight in terms of short-term usage and best floors. So that's Chris Rodriguez. Highest upside, long-term, Bashal Tutin. And then Ken Gainwell, Algier are both backup running backs. Same with Brian Robinson Jr. All good on those fronts. I'm fine with them. Tyjae Spears, I would probably keep behind him. I probably agree with Tyjae Spears. Maybe more like with these two than here. Around under a top 10. So yeah, I would agree with this. Blake Corum's in the same, all these guys, for the most part, you need an injury for them to be valuable, really including Tyjae Spears, but he does at least get you a little bit more guaranteed workload for Tyjae Spears in like deeper leagues, 14-team, 16-team leagues. He could be a little bit more value because, once again, his usage is more guaranteed than a lot of these guys outside of those top three. So those are the running backs. I think you get a good idea there. Of course, you can always ask in the comments. I will be busy this evening, but I will make sure at least before bedtime, I'll try to remember to go look through the comments, make sure nobody's asking any questions there. Then for the wide receivers, 1 second, there's no reason for this mic to get disconnected. All right, so for the wide receivers, I've got, Alec Pierce has been, at the top of the list for like a month now, so can't disagree with that. Christian Watson right behind that would agree with. I do think I would rather have Michael Wilson than Christian Watson this week. So if you're looking just for this week, probably just this week, maybe 2 weeks, depending on Marvin Harrison Jr.'s recovery, you could shake these two up. But I would put them both as the 2 and the 3, so really just in agreement here in general. Mac Hollins, Darnell Mooney this week, I would put ahead of Mac Hollins. I would be in agreement with Pat Fitzmaurice. He's going to be the number 1 wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons this week. Luther Burden, I would, if we're talking long-term, I would say he's number 2. If we're not looking for anybody that we have to start in the short term, but we just want long-term upside, I do like to take a chance on Luther Burden because DJ Moore hasn't done a whole lot. Heck, Roma Dunze's been off lately. there is an opportunity for Luther Burden second half of the season to be a league winner. So I do think he has that potential upside there. Linton Mayer, what is up, Linton? Thank you for stopping on through. Full PPR. I have Achan on by. By the way, guys, don't forget to like the stream, like the video if you're watching in the future. I have Achan on by. Yeah, me too. Start both Henderson and Stevenson as my RB1 and 2. I mean, I guess that might be a thing to do. I currently, in my running back rankings, just have them like plopped somewhere, waiting to see what kind of news we're going to get this week. Don't think you're going to be able to get Wilson. Best other options are, yeah, I would probably just play those two. Assuming Stevenson comes back, which is not a guarantee, but I think highly, highly likely, right? If not almost a guarantee. And the team said that before last week's game, the team said that Stevenson would resume as the RB1. I pretty much do believe them. I think that gets a little bit... You got to think Henderson's going to pick up some volume. It's a good running back matchup. Stevenson hasn't been too great on the season, but if he's going to be the RB1, then you want to play him and then hope Henderson can make a big play, which, that's really what he's been doing. He hasn't been extremely consistent on a down-in and down-out basis, which might be why they'll still go with Stevenson. Also, Vegas D or Patriots defense this week? Let's see. Well, why don't I just pull up my quarterback rankings real quick? Vegas D, Patriots D. I mean, I lean towards Patriots, but I know they don't have a good matchup. But it's Flacco. I mean, you could always turn that decent. Or Las Vegas. Against Shador. Yeah, I'd probably take the safer route and go with Vegas. Not really expecting a blow up, but there's a possibility of Max Crosby could really have a day there. So I think I like Las Vegas to score 9 more than I like New England to score 9. New England to score 20 more than I like Las Vegas to get 20, but also New England more likely to not do much and have, a 3-4 point day than Vegas. So New England, I guess, kind of your boom bust option. Las Vegas a little safer. I would probably lean Vegas on that one. So thank you very much for the question there, Linton. Continuing with the wide receivers here, Parker Washington. I lean towards Pat Fitzmaurice and Derek Brown here. Jaden Higgins, I would rather than Parker Washington, talking about like league-winning upside. Probably doesn't have that upside, but could he be better than Darnell Mooney? Mac Hollins, almost certainly. I would tend to lean towards Andrew Erickson on the Mac Hollins because Kayshon Boutte should be back this week, or has a chance to be back this week anyways, so just, he'll probably be available on a waiver wire. I don't think people are going to be going crazy for him. And then currently behind these guys. So, yeah, I would have it Alec Pierce, Christian Watson, Michael Wilson, Luther Burden, and Luther Burden top end if you're just good in your wide receiver room. And then Jaden Higgins behind that, so like 5. So in agreement with Andrew Erickson on that. Tyler Lockett, I think in deeper leagues, should be rostered probably. Xavier Legette, Tyler Shavers. Once again, deep leagues, okay, that's something. Achan out on bye. What is up? Malasade. Maybe I got that right. Would you start Woody Marks or Wilson, assuming Jacobs is out? Yes, of course. I think I lean Wilson. Let's see what I did in my... Now these rankings are not final. I've only done this is the rough draft. This is the pre-recorded draft. And then, of course, even after I do my rankings video, there's still the rest of the week to go. So, like, Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson are just parked here. I got to do something with them. I don't know what yet. Hoping before... I'm probably not going to record till tomorrow, so hoping to get some sort of news report. Woody Marks I have here. Emmanuel Wilson. Wilson, where are you? Do I have Emmanuel Wilson ranked yet? Have I forgotten to rank Emmanuel? I wonder if I just didn't add him in yet. I got Josh Jacobs out. Okay, so I didn't add Emmanuel Wilson in. So, what do we got again? Minnesota run funnel. I would go Emmanuel Wilson. I'm going to have Emmanuel Wilson ranked higher than that. Yeah. I will probably end up... I mean, I should... I'll remember to. I will probably end up with Emmanuel Wilson. Yeah, probably 20th in my rankings there. It depends on so much. So the team has said, if the team sticks with what they said Ramondre Stevenson is going to presume his role as the RB1. I have a tough time imagining it's going to be the exact same split as it was prior to, last week. Because they said that before last week's game. So prior to the last 2 weeks of Trevion Henderson. But I think they'll probably do that. So between the two, it would be like a ceiling and a floor play. Like Trevion Henderson, less touches, but higher ceiling. Ramondre Stevenson, a little bit more guaranteed work. Floor. And so I think they'll probably end up being back-to-back. And maybe like that. I struggle to... If they're going to be kind of split, and even in a good matchup... Definitely low-end running back twos is where they're going to be ranked. Like, just mentally, low-end RB2s, both of them in that case. If we get some sort of report for Henderson, we can move Henderson up. Ramondre probably not going to be moving up higher than that at any point, regardless of reporting. Just because I think there's just a threat of Henderson taking more workload, regardless of what they say going forward. Michael, how's it going today, my brother? We got a scheduling problem tonight, so we're in here during the day to get this done with. I'll be interested to see where other people go with them. I could see going as high as... I guess I would put them in the same boat as like Zach Charbonnet. Good matchup. Split workload. Questionable stuff. So maybe it would go... Henderson, 21. Zach Charbonnet... Ramondre... Yeah, maybe... RB21 and RB22 kind of feels like where I'm going to end up choosing to park them from my rankings video. You think Tomlin's conservative instincts will hold with respect to benching a possibly vaguely injured Warren? No, I don't think so. That's a good question, and it's always possible, but the fact that he was good to go in game means that he should be at, 100% health. Now, no football player is at 100% health this time of the year, really, but he should be fine and good to go for the game. So I don't see it. He's their RB1. They like him the most. They're extremely happy that they have Gainwell behind him. He's done well when they needed him. But I can't imagine they'll sit a 80-90% healthy Warren going into the game. They would be more likely to do the same thing probably if he were to tweak himself, if he were to twerk in game, if he were to get tweaked a little bit in game. Guys, just for anybody watching in the future, I'm just going to real quick, I'll get to the questions in just a moment. Just going to real quick look at the tight ends and say I agree with the top two. Juwan Johnson, higher ceiling than Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz has been really solid. I do think I have Dalton Schultz ranked higher in my rankings for this week, I believe. And once again, these rankings aren't final. Let me double check that. So, not true. So Juwan Johnson would be my tight end 1 on the week, followed by Dalton Schultz. Colson Loveland, it is like a good week. but I would still rather play Harold Fandon Jr. going forward. This week. Mason Taylor, I'm optimistic about with Tyrod Taylor in at quarterback, so I would probably put Mason Taylor as my tight end 3. These two are very startable. I got questions about Harold Fandon this week. Where do I have him? Okay, you know what? Maybe 4. Okay, Mason Taylor 4. These 3. Colston Loveland I would put behind Mason Taylor, and then we're just in the whatevers the rest of the way. You don't need to worry about those guys unless you do have questions, but hopefully you don't when it comes to those tight ends. So that's it for all of my thoughts. You can always rewatch this video if you want to see some of my thoughts on the other positions or ask me a question. So, Linton, I believe New England are more than a 7-point favorite, hoping for a run fest. Yes, and there should be a lot of running. So, yeah, Linton, I think I probably lean towards being a little bit aggressive with the ranking of them rather than not, which is where that finds me right around there. I would have a hard time putting them up above these guys. Now, people might be worried about Jaylen Warren and stuff, but that report, it sounds like we have no concerns about Jaylen Warren. So you could probably get him as high as... here's the thing. Like, Ashton Genty's probably going to move down my rankings now after last night. But Pete Carroll did say that was a mistake and owned up to it and just said he was trying something and it was just a game plan mistake. Might have been biting the bullet for the offensive coordinator a little bit. That's possible. So I could see you going as high as a high-end. So maybe they're like middling wide running back 2s. At least, God, because I want to say at least Henderson, but at the same time, he's not the RB1. That's such a risk. So I'm really hoping we're going to get some reporting. And they've been pretty open about talking about these running backs throughout the year. They even came out before the game last week to say, Ramondre Stevenson's going to be our running back 1 still. Was that something where they're trying to send a message to Travion Henderson? Who knows? Maybe that's what the purpose of that was for. I don't know. Michael Henderson above Breece, in my opinion. Well, but if he's the RB2, we don't know. Does he go back to his old role? Does he just get like 6 touches? What if that's the thing? You can't... A guy who's averaging over 20 touches compared to a guy who's getting 6 touches, there's really no question on which one you have to start. But I hear you. Great matchup, plus the guys in front of them are not that great. In front of, they both have decent O-lines now. They both worked on them a bit. I don't know exactly where they rank in the league, but I'd say average. But, yeah, once again, like I was saying, I did say I could see ranking them as high as, like here, above Ashton Genty. And now Ashton Genty's going to be followed, but above these guys. So I do understand that. And it's so going to be so dependent on the reporting this week. So I did want to go through, we just see if anybody else has any other questions, anything in chat. By the way, guys, please don't forget to like the stream before you head out. Just some of the news from today. So I covered the Pete Carroll said, this is the quote from Pete Carroll. I wanted to get the ball to Brock a bunch and see what he could do. ... which means he said something else in there, which could change context a bunch here. But this person decided that it shouldn't change the context if they're being appropriate with their reporting here. I'm responsible for that. So that is probably not something they're going to repeat going into the next week, you would think. CJ Stroud has been ruled out for Week 12. I thought that was kind of already done, but there we go. Congratulations to Khalil Shakir, misses practice today because his wife, Sailor, gave birth to a baby girl. So, happy Daddy Day to Khalil Shakir. Is that a thing? Daddy Day? Sounds wrong. Sounds like a not a birth thing. Okay, so Tomlin says Jaylen Warren was cleared to play. I read that off earlier. So it seems like everything's fine for Jaylen Warren going forward. We'll see for sure how practices go this week. Because also, ankle sprains could puff up throughout the week. or this morning, or yesterday. See, that's coming today. They probably know how his ankles reacted by now. Joe Mixon's status, in case anybody's not sure about this, the quote from their GM, Nick Caserio, it's a very gray situation. By the way, guys, you're very welcome for telling you very early on in the offseason that this was going to be the case. Joe Mixon might not play at all this year. So if you didn't draft him, and that's because of me, you're welcome. I'll take a victory lap when I can get it. The Athletics' Matt Schneidman believes Jaden Reed could return to practice on Wednesday, so that doesn't mean he'll play, but definitely puts him into that week-to-week category at this point. If he returns to practice this week, would expect him to probably then be available. All the reporting so far on Jaden Reed has been pretty good. It sounds like he's been healing really well. Dalton Kincaid did not practice today, which I believe that is a Thursday game, so probably wouldn't anticipate him on the short week. Jaylen Warren will be limited in practice. Optimistic that Warren will play. Yeah, that seems to be the case. I'm not too concerned about that as of now, as I won't be concerned. If we get a Friday limited practice and not a full practice on Friday, okay, then I guess he's probably going in as questionable, and we'll keep an eye on the news reports and everything for Kenneth Gainwell. So there is some, some strategy to holding on to Gainwell yet. Aaron Rodgers will not need surgery. He is pushing to play in Week 12. I think I talked about that earlier when we went over the quarterback waiver wire rankings. He's trying to play, so we'll see. That would make DK Metcalf, I think, a solid play if he is playing. Otherwise, a little more concerned about that. Kaimi Fairbairn, if you're looking for a kicker, expected to return in Week 12. So there's that. That's Houston's kicker. And if Dylan Gabriel clears protocol, he will be the starter. Of course, he's the starting quarterback for them. But the odds are he will not clear protocol. Expecting Shedeur Sanders as of now. Falcons' offense to quote-unquote look different with Kirk Cousins at the helm and without Drake London at wide receiver, to be clear. So, yes, it will definitely be looking different. I would expect Kyle Pitts might get some wide receiver type stuff, which could be good or bad for him. I think we're pretty much caught up to this morning. Initial test revealed that Cardinals running back Marty Mercado suffered a high ankle sprain. Okay, so that will help clear up that backfield. Wait, I already had him out. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll call that out. Jeff Rogers, what is up? Prioritize in order Gainwell, Wilson, and Tucker. Yeah, so I went over earlier in the video all this stuff, and we want to see a little bit more in depth. But I've got Wilson. I would say, I guess I would say the likelihood of I would go Tucker Gainwell. I feel like the likelihood of Bucky Irving not returning is higher than the likelihood of Jaylen Warren returning. Did I put that in the right order? Yeah. So I would say we're optimistic that, it feels like a 90% chance that Jaylen Warren's going to be playing this week, which means Gainwell's what Gainwell has been, and that Sean Tucker, I don't know what we're at. Maybe I would say it feels like most likely Bucky Irving's playing this week, but 70-75% chance or something like that, let's just say, to be a little bit conservative there, that he plays. So, yeah. But Wilson, the team said that it was more likely than not that Josh Jacobs would be missing. So, I feel like Jacobs is a true 50-50, let's just say. So for that reason, then Wilson, would have the highest chances of paying off this week, I believe. based on what I've heard. We can just quick here. PFF, do they have anybody interesting listed in these? Oh, Chris Rodriguez was not, right? Yeah, no, we covered Chris Rodriguez. Devin Singletary, I mean, he gets that touchdown, kind of lucky. Samaje is somebody in a deep league you could actually, somebody might have dropped them, you could go out and get. Luther Burden, I think I would rather have. For upside, I would rather have them. Probably all these guys, but Alec Pierce, Michael Wilson for the short term and long term for Alec Pierce. In terms of Alec Pierce, I went over those earlier. You can watch the video when I went over the wide receivers. Jaden Higgins was kind of right behind Alec Pierce in terms of just taking a shot on somebody. Tyrell Shavers I'm not going crazy about, or Roman Wilson, or Kaderil Hodge. Yeah, I mean, I guess Darren Waller is probably approaching that time period where he could come back. So there would be a deep add in deep leagues if he were to be available. Otherwise, nothing too surprising here. Brenton Strange is another tight end. That was not on that list. He should be coming back this week. He's got some value. So, like, when we go back to the tight ends, I would probably put Strange third. So, Juwan Johnson, Dalton Schultz, Strange, Harold Fannin, Mason Taylor, Colson Loveland. 6 tight ends. And, hold up. Let me just put Emmanuel Wilson in here somewhere, so I don't forget when I get to this, probably tomorrow. And then I got you, Linton. I got you. I'm coming your way. There we go. Question mark. Okay. Let's get this back on the screen. So here's the overall. By the way, I would probably put Emmanuel Wilson as the number 1 overall myself. So pick one quarterback. 4-point passing. Oh. Flacco, Lawrence, Mills, Shuck, Young, Taylor, McCarthy. Are you looking for a 1-week player, or are you looking for a backup on a roster? What are you looking for from this, Linton? That might change it. It might not. I mean, it's probably just Flacco. It's probably Flacco either way. I would want to double check that Cincinnati rest of season schedule, but Mills, Shuck, Bryce Young, you know, if you believe in Bryce Young, I didn't believe in Bryce Young coming into the season, and that paid off. You got Burrow on IR. Okay, so just kind of holding off. Tyrod Taylor, probably he just doesn't have any weapons. McCarthy, nah, you know. I'm hoping he'll get the chance to be a starter next year, and he'll get another offseason and get the rest of the experience this year, and hopefully we'll see some improvement as the season goes along for him. But in terms of fantasy, I'd be going crazy. So I would go Flacco, and then Lawrence is a second, and then it's kind of a distant space between the rest of them. I mean, Mills is a short-term option. You know, maybe Shuck, like, turns it on or something. I'm just not going to bet on that, like I'm not going to bet on Young. I would go Young third, though. And Davis Mills this week against Buffalo offers a ceiling but not a good floor. Do I sell RJ Harvey for Quentin Johnston? Huh. No, because J.K. Dobbins might go on IR. It's not a bad question, P-Gear. I am assuming RJ Harvey will earn a little bit more of a role. You know, I didn't have him high ranked this week. I had him pretty low. I had him way low compared to the consensus, the experts. Quentin, it's just been, you know, it's been kind of what we thought coming into the season. So I just think the upside of Harvey is higher. Do you love how Quinton gets 0 points sometimes, though? You know, I don't know. I would say no, you know, myself. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to do, especially if you're running back. Like, if you have a really strong running back room, you know, obviously you got by without RJ Harvey for most of the season and everything, and your wide receivers are a little bit faulty, then fine, you know. But if there's any question in your running back room, I would rather just hold on to Harvey and see what comes of it. Yeah, did Dobbins actually get? Yeah, he got put on IR, didn't he, on like Saturday or something maybe? Flacco even with Jamar out. I suppose there is that to think about, huh? I mean, my quick answer is probably still yes. I suppose maybe Trevor Lawrence feels a little better. Yeah. Might be all right with Trevor Lawrence on that one. That's a good call. I didn't change my quarterback rankings since that news. I had done that yesterday before that came out. I'm curious where the experts are on that because, you know, Flacco's been good. The experts currently still have Flacco ahead of Trevor Lawrence, but there might be plenty of people who did the same thing as me. I would assume... the only thing is Arizona's... Like, they got rocked last week, but for the most part, they've been a sneaky, tough matchup. So I don't know for sure that I'm going to end up... It's really close. I mean, I would just follow your gut on that one, Linton, if you have a gut feeling on it. I can't tell you I feel strongly either way. While I forgot about that situation. Because obviously the risk with Flacco would just be Christian Gonzalez is able to lock up T. Higgins, which is possible. And then he's just thrown to lesser in a tough matchup against New England. Let me check up one more thing here. In terms of quarterback production against these two teams. Through the first 10 weeks, not 11. So through the first 10 weeks, because New England's probably better against the run than they are against quarterbacks. Yeah, a pretty good quarterback matchup. And by pretty good, I just mean like above average. That they're around average-ish here. So not a bad quarterback matchup for New England, and... What was it, Arizona? Arizona kind of the opposite of that. Actually, more so towards the bad. They'll probably move up these rankings a little bit after last week. Yeah, I've still got Higgins ranked really high, but I mean, like last week, Christian Gonzalez didn't do anything to stop the wide receiver one. He's a very good cornerback. He's not quite shut down yet. I do think he matches up probably pretty well against T, being a bigger bodied, you know, cornerback. Man. Cincinnati's not going to be able to run extremely well, so they're going to continue to pass. I like Yoshivas. You know, I like their backup wide receivers, but that doesn't mean they're great. I'm leaning Trevor Lawrence. I'm leaning Trevor Lawrence on that. Yes, Bryce is in a good matchup. I do have a love tag on Bryce this week. Like, it is a good matchup. If you believe in him, go for it. You know, like I said earlier, I just don't really believe in him, but it is a good matchup. They have CMC. Yeah, he's been good this year. He probably offers you the best ceiling out of the bunch. In terms of like likelihood, I don't know. It's so equal because Trevor Lawrence is the better quarterback, and that's not saying a whole lot. But he has been, for fantasy purposes, by a semi-significant, by average, a decent margin. And we did just see Arizona get lit up, but I think Bryce Young gives you the highest ceiling if you want a ceiling there. And then I would not mess with, that's they're all in the same tier, those three. And I don't think that the tier is going to change once I update these. Whereas the other guys you were looking at, Davis Mills, Tyler Shuck, I got them in the other tier. So I just wouldn't quite mess with them. Shuck has been, actually good, but it's small sample size. And Atlanta is just Jekyll and Hyde. So it's kind of going to be one way or the other. Who knows what you're going to get with Atlanta. Either they're going to shut them down and do really well or look like crap. All right. I think we'll probably end the stream around there. Unless there are any more questions in chat, get them on through. I'll give you a little bit to get that through before I end the stream, because I know you're on delay anyways. Mr. Ortiz, do you have any questions or anything, or just saying hello? Don't forget to like the stream. It'll help, because this video is going to go live then after this. I was just working on heading out. Okay. We can do that. And then I gotta get going. I got some homework to do before my class tonight. Some reading, the most exciting. And I have real work to do too before that. Got work and homework. Uno momento. I'm coming. All right. Okay, so Ortiz, remember, my rankings aren't final at all. I mean, we just got some help on the fact that I'm going to be moving Flacco down here in the rankings and stuff. So there's still there. These are the rough drafts. Outside of the wide receiver rankings is my second draft. Final draft, of course, not till Sunday. Start one this week. Purdy, Brissett, or Trevor Lawrence. I think I'm going to have Purdy well ahead of Trevor and Brissett. Jacoby against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's been not as good of a matchup as we thought that they were. So I would go with Purdy. He looks good. Carolina's also a little bit of a limited matchup. So there is that there. You just look at the Vegas. I mean, we're expecting more touchdown opportunities for Purdy, so I'm just going to kind of take that. I got a big quarterback to second tier there, which is kind of how the second tier quarterback should be. Got Bo Nix on bye. Who's better rest of season, Bo Nix or Purdy? Personally, I think Purdy. I believe Denver's got a pretty tough schedule too, if I remember correctly. My bench is Vidal. I don't want to drop till Hampton. Yep, which hopefully will happen this week. But yep. Manangai has a role. He does. White until Bucky, which is probably this week, but not a guarantee. And, he kind of just he's still going to have, I think White has a role no matter what, as the Rashad White role. Like, I think he's just the RB2, whether it's Bucky or Sean Tucker now. I assume Sean Tucker overcame him. And Pollard, who sucks. Yes, he does. Should I drop White and or Pollard for Emmanuel Wilson? I would be fine dropping either, but I mean, I guess at this point, I think Pollard's a little bit more valuable in case Tyjae Spears goes down again, whereas White, it seems like he's just going to be the RB2 no matter, he would need Sean Tucker and Bucky Irving to be out to get his role back, would be my guess. So I would take the shot on Emmanuel Wilson this week. He's going to be pretty well ranked. Gainwell to Knight. Emmanuel Wilson's really the only one that If you wanted to go Tootin over Pollard, if you needed somebody to play again this week, Knight would be the other guy. If you want to take, if you're down bad at running backs, you know, Emmanuel Wilson and Knight, I think probably have higher chances to play than White, both of them. And then if you like Knight more than Pollard, that could make some sense. Let me go look at my running back rankings. I believe I might have... Yeah, I've got Bam Knight ranked higher than Pollard, so I would be fine dropping Pollard for Bam Knight, but obviously that's short term, not rest of season. Start 2 this week. Wandale, Shakir, Sticky Ricky. How do I have them ranked? I don't have... So Wandale's going to be one of them. But Sticky Ricky is, I think, overranked right now by the experts. Go through that in my wide receiver video. And Shakir, I still have higher, I believe. Yeah. So I would go Wandale and Shakir myself. I know it's not a good matchup for Shakir, and obviously he's coming off the week he just had. Maybe he was a little extra stressed because his wife was highly pregnant. Maybe that's the reason for that one. Yeah, I'm... You know, 3 targets for Ricky is kind of what I expected, kind of generally what I expect going forward. It's not a good wide receiver matchup against Carolina anyways, too, so, you know, I'm low on him. I might have Purdy if I win in waivers. Let's go. That's all right. Purdy's going to be throwing to other guys, just like he did last week. Don't worry about it. Sticky Ricky is not a must stack with Purdy. If Dart is out this week, which we would expect he'll come back, but... If he's out, start Brissett or Trevor. I do have Jacoby over Trevor Lawrence currently. And I think that's going to remain the same. Jacoby's just been so good. Since it's handcuff season, which 3 are the best? Corum, B-Rob, Tootin, Stevenson, Emmanuel Wilson, Pacheco, Knight. Handcuffs? Obviously, Emmanuel Wilson's got some nice value at handcuff. I would go Corum, B-Rob, Emmanuel Wilson. I'll just take the Stevenson floor regardless. I don't think he's a handcuff. He's supposed to be the RB1 there, so I don't think he's really a handcuff. So I guess Tootin and Stevenson are kind of just a horse apiece there. And Emmanuel Wilson's probably really actually in that same argument. So Tootin, Stevenson, Emmanuel Wilson, kind of a horse apiece. I would just go with whichever offenses you think are the best out of the bunch for running backs, at least. And then Pacheco and Knight. Yeah, I guess Pacheco's kind of in that same conversation as a handcuff, not as a starter. And Knight's not too far behind, you know. So I just think Corum and Brian Robinson are going to be the clear 2 best to have out of the bunch. And then I think because of where things are at right now, I would say Emmanuel Wilson. I mean, what if Josh Jacobs does play and then he bangs it up again? He already had an injury coming. He had a knee injury. Like, that's been a thing. So, you know, maybe it gets even worse. Yeah, I guess he seems to be the one who has the best chance of getting injured out of the rest of the bunch. And offensive-wise, like, I have a tough time saying any of those offenses are significantly better or worse than one another. Ultimately, I'd probably put Arizona at the bottom of that list. Also, I have DJ Moore on my bench. Is he droppable to get 4 of those guys? If your running back room sucks and your wide receiver room is good, sure. Yeah, I mean, I think you can probably find a DJ Moore in a 12-team or lesser league for sure. 14-team league, I would probably keep DJ Moore most likely, depending on what my roster looks like exactly. But otherwise, yeah, sure. You know, who knows who's going to get injured any given week? So spread the seed. Take some more shots. Yeah, no problem with that. Start 1 this week. Shakir or DJ Moore? I have Shakir ranked higher than DJ Moore. DJ's been pretty rough, right? Yeah, DJ Moore down there. Shakir for me. Should I drop Dak and Joe Burrow to pick up 2 wide receivers? Or drop 2 of my handcuffs of Corum, B-Rob, or Algier? I have Danny Jones. I use weekly. Well, have you looked at Indianapolis' schedule going forward? It's really rough. I would go ahead and look at the schedules going forward. I mean, Joe Burrow is the clear drop out of the bunch. Just gonna have to. I lean towards I would rather have Dak than Dan Dimes, but I know, you having Mr. Dimes, I mean, it doesn't seem like you're asking me much of a question because you're just saying you have to drop 2. So should you drop them? If you have to drop them, I guess. Or drop my handcuffs, Corum, B-Rob, Algier. I would probably drop Joe Burrow and I guess Algier at this point, if you're strictly talking backup. So that's probably what I would do. I would rather have Dak because, once again, look at Indianapolis' rest of the season schedule. It's rough. Start 2 this week. Godwin, Shepard, Yoshivash, Iomanor, Coker, Leggett, Tillman, Judy, or any Jets wide receivers with Taylor starting. Yes, I know they're all gross. I just want 10 points each. You asked for a lot. 10 points is a decent game. So I think I have Godwin ranked the highest out of that group. I've got it ranked. Godwin, Shepard's going to be, pretty low. He probably could be at the top of this group, though. Well, no, because I'm expecting Godwin back. Obviously, if Godwin doesn't play, then Shepard would move up somewhere in here, around Jerry Jeudy range for me. I do still have Jeudy ranked higher than Leggett. I wouldn't be opposed to playing Leggett over Jeudy, though. Or Tillman. Tillman's going to be at the bottom of this tier. Coker I don't even have in this tier. I'm a little bit confused why people are so excited about Coker. I don't know what I missed. I missed something this week. Let's see here. Why don't I just do this? Because I noticed he was high up in the ECR rankings. Did I just... He had 4 targets. It's 7.2 fantasy points. Well, okay, that's standard. Half PPR. 9.2 fantasy points. Yeah, in a rough wide receiver week, he performed okay. 52 yards, 4 catches. That should be 7.2 points. I don't get where there's this extra 2 points for half PPR scoring coming from. Oh, he must have gotten a 2-point conversion? So that really beefed up his score. I mean, that's over 20% of his score. Like 30% of his score almost. 25% of his score? Would have been 7.2. Yeah, over a quarter of his score was beefed up by a 2-point conversion. We can't really rely on that. It's probably the last one of the game. He hasn't had more than 4 targets in a game once this year. I don't get why he's being ranked so high outside of the fact that, it's just wide receivers suck to rank this week. Godwin, and then the other one was Yoshivash. Where do I have Yoshivash? Tyler, coming your way. Let me just finish this up. Yoshivash, I do have... So here you go. Look between these two. Are any of those other names between the two? That's how I have them ranked right now. And this is my second draft, so it's close to my final version there. Jason, let me get on to Tyler Sperry, who thank you so very much for the $5, man. I do appreciate it. Don't forget to like the stream, guys. It really, really helps. I do have to get out of here sometime sooner than later. I've still got work and then homework. and dinner to eat all before I got class this evening. So quarterback Winston on. So this is the same. This is the same question. Okay. So quarterback Winston or Cousins because I don't trust Devonta Smith. So is this a super flex question, Tyler? I would probably rather. Well, I'm expecting Jackson Smith and Jigba to return. So right now I don't really have Winston ranked. Jackson Smith and Jigba? Jesus. Jackson Dart. So, I mean, I got Jackson Dart ranked really high. Going up against Detroit. I think I would have Winston ranked higher than Cousins. And I would try to give some faith to Devonta Smith this week. However, if it is a super flex spot, you almost certainly want to play the quarterback anyways. So Kirk Cousins against New Orleans, fine. So I guess I will have Winston ranked higher than Cousins if Winston is the starting quarterback for the New York Giants this week. That is not the expectation currently. And generally speaking, I'm all for playing the quarterback over a positional player in a super flex spot, so I'm fine with it. I do like Devonta Smith this week, but still, especially with that floor, that he carries, Cousins against New Orleans should be okay. Hopefully, it didn't look good once recently. Jason, the number one kicker Dicker is on bye. Is it worth holding on to him? I'd say no. If I don't drop Dicker, I'll have to drop Pollard for a kicker. And risk not getting... Yeah, no, just drop the kicker. It's okay. I mean, yeah, it's great that you've had him. Try to get him back, but it's a kicker. Aaron Klingdick. What is up, Aaron? How are you doing? Welcome in. I gotta ask my dude. London is hurt. Yes, he is. Not going to be playing this week, unfortunately. So would you start Devonta Smith, Alec Pierce, or Watson? Yeah, that is a tough one. I do like Devonta Smith this week, so I believe I currently have him ranked the highest, and this is my second version here of the rankings. Yeah, I've got him up at wide receiver 20 this week, going up against Dallas. It's a really good matchup. That doesn't guarantee anything for Devonta Smith. We know that, but I would still go with Devonta Smith there, Aaron, myself. Alec Pierce, do have, not as high up on him against Kansas City as I would be up against a better matchup, but it's not the end of the world for that matchup, and obviously he's been good. And Chris Watson's been very good as well, working on a limited amount of opportunities, working against a run funnel of a defense. I love him this week. I gave him a love tag this week. I do think that he's a really good... You're still hunting for the touchdown with Christian Watson is the thing. I do think that it might come against Minnesota, but you hunted for it. And that Green Bay offensive line, that Minnesota defensive front, I don't know. Green Bay might lose this week. I hope not. Green Bay, that's my team. Jason Ortiz, you're very, very welcome. You could put a quarterback in a flex. Yeah, so that's super flex. So that's what I was saying. Thank you so much once again, Tyler, for the dono. You definitely... If you ask another question, I'll just jump right on down to you if I see you. I appreciate it. I don't want you to break at the bank to ask me questions. It's not super busy in here anyways. So, super appreciated it. But, yes, I would play Cousins over Devonta Smith. You could put a quarterback in flex. I assume I'm reading that correctly. Mr. Porro, I started Shaheed over Michael Wilson. I'm so sorry. Luckily, I got blown out, so I'm not too upset. I would have lost anyway. That's my fault. The good thing for Rashid Shaheed, though, he does seem to be supplanting Cooper Kupp. I assume he'll be the wide receiver 2 after next week there. So, Tyler, I appreciate you once again. I'm glad that it didn't end up mattering. That's the one thing that sometimes is a little bit of a lifesaver, and I do factor that into my rankings or, my suggestions. Sometimes is let's go for the ceiling because it kind of doesn't matter. I guess I thought I was going for the ceiling with Rashid Shaheed. I was wrong. Malice, if you want to re-ask your question, you were coming up next, so I will jump down to you if you want to ask again. Otherwise, we're going to move on to Dustin Wells. What is up, Dustin? How are you doing this lovely Tuesday? How much fab would you drop for Emmanuel Wilson? Short term, I think Emmanuel Wilson's the better pick. He's my number one pickup for the week. So the team said he's day-to-day, but he's unlikely to play, was the full initial report on him. Well, the initial report was we were concerned that it was much worse, but luckily it's not. It's just a contusion, or also known as a bruise. He's day-to-day, but unlikely to play this weekend. So right now, I'm considering it about a 51-49% chance. 51% chance that he does not play. It's not going to help. If there was a week to not have Jacobs, this might be a good run defense to not have Jacobs against, I guess. Not that it's some easy run defense. So I wouldn't want to drop too much on Emmanuel Wilson, but also if you're in a pinch and you just need a running back this week and there's nothing out there. So it depends what the rest of the waiver wire looks like a little bit here. As to how aggressive you would get, but I'm sitting at, we're getting towards the end of the year. You're fighting for a playoff spot, I assume. And you need him so if everything works out to basically you need him, you're willing to take a risk on it. I suppose I'm feeling 19%, but then I don't want to be losing out to somebody who puts, 21%. But I'm, kind of between there, 19% fabish. Would probably be around what I would, for the most part, be willing to do. In even fairly dire situations. The most of dire situations, how much fab you have left, there's so many other factors that would go into the ultimate answer there. And Christian Watson should be better rest of season than Emmanuel Wilson. I wouldn't break my back for it. But you're looking for somebody to start this week. I think Emmanuel Wilson, if he would be the higher floor for sure, and probably even the higher ceiling, barely. Should I trade A.J. Brown and Aaron Jones for Singletary and Rashee Rice? Sure, let's get a Rashee Rice. I don't care about Singletary portion of it. I get the Rice side. Yeah, Michael, if you can get Rashee Rice, go for it. I would do that. So, Tyler, thank you for the input and the update. You never know what I have or have not heard. And I think, so Malice gave up on me, dipped out of here. Poro, we went over my failure for you. So I didn't skip over anybody. Once again, we're heading in towards about an hour, so probably about to wrap up. 1GQ Will, what is up? Dynasty trade, I'm stacked at wide receiver with Dart and Darnold at quarterback. Knocked out of playoffs. Okay, Dynasty trade, stacked at wide receiver, got Dart and Darnold at quarterback. Have been knocked out of the playoffs. Someone offered me Penix. Future first, and second. For Jordan Love, Devonta Smith, and Spears. And you've got Dart. I would probably rather Dart than Penix. They're both injury concerns. I would like to see Devonta Smith, as a wide receiver one, which you have to think will happen someday. And you also have Darnold and you have Jordan Love then. Which, to me, if I take Jordan Love and Penix, and right now I would rather have Jordan Love than Penix, but let's just call that fair, then it's still a future first, a future first, and a future second for Smith and Spears. Well, you know what? We can't really call that even, though. The 2 future firsts for Smith, and then a second for Spears feels pretty good. Is that the difference between Penix and Love? You know, this is one I might just click. I might just click yes on because I want the draft picks just for the fun of it. And then I might find out that I really regretted it in 3 years. Because I didn't do anything good with those picks, and Penix is out of the league, and Jordan Love's crushing it, and Devonta Smith is crushing it as a wide receiver one for a team, and heck, maybe even Spears is now a running back one somewhere. You know, I don't think that'll happen. But the rest of it could. So obviously you're taking a gamble. I think it's a fair trade. I would just say I think it's a fair trade. Because once again, if you want to say Jordan Love's better than Penix, but that's not a guaranteed thing, but value-wise, Jordan Love's more valuable than Penix, then we just break it down to a 26 first, a 27 first, and a 27 second for Devonta Smith, and then Spears is like even a 26 first and 27 second for Devonta Smith. I feel like if you think of first and a first over the next 2 years makes you feel good for Devonta Smith, then I would probably be willing to make the trade. Yeah, so you got a nice young-ish team. Yeah, a lot of things looking good, so you definitely don't have to make the trade. I think it depends what you think of Jordan Love. Me personally, I do think he's going to be the long-term quarterback for the Packers. I don't know if he's ever going to take that step towards being elite. And I doubt that for Penix too. But, you know, who really knows? Man, Will, I mean, I can't tell you whether to accept it or decline it, and that's because I do think that it's a pretty fair trade there. So, kind of just depends how you want to take it, you know, because how long is Devonta Smith under contract with the Falcons? Through the 2028 season. And A.J. Brown. Hold on. So I typed Falcons instead of Eagles, but with A.J. Brown, it was like he's no longer on, he's not with the Falcons. You know, I would probably take that because we got A.J. Brown is under contract with the Eagles through 2029. And then Smith under contract with the Eagles through 2028. So he's, yeah, obviously they could do a trade or something like that before then, but that kind of just keeps Devonta Smith under A.J. Brown's wing, and you know, by the time anything, I mean, you get those first round picks, if you can turn those into something good, they might be valuable by the time Devonta Smith is more valuable anyways. So I think I lean towards taking it. Mostly probably because I've got Dart, and I'm going to cross my fingers that works out a little bit. I'll probably be looking to get a quarterback with one of those picks. So, yeah, it depends what you think of between Jordan Love and Penix. Exactly. I lean towards accepting it, in part because it's fun to have draft picks. But also, I think it's a fair offer. So, there you go. That is it. Any other questions? Otherwise, I am about to end the stream. You got about 10 seconds because I know you're going to be on delay, and the cat's tail is just in the way. So about 10, about 9, about 8, about 7. So you're about 3 seconds behind me. 6, a 5, 4, 3. Thank you, everybody, so very much for tuning on in. Have a good one. Good luck this week. I will be available Thursday evening for your start sit questions, 1.5 hours prior to kickoff on Thursday evening, Sunday morning. I'll be available this week, but that might get funked up going forward for the rest of the season a little bit. So have a good one. Peace out. Love y'all. Bye-bye. Ended it.